I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. She's the author of the book REACHology, no other than Miss Trudy Bierman. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Trudy, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Hi, Lieberman here. I am the CEO and host of Influence Media, Profitable Social Influence TV, PSI TV. We have a channel presence on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Vita TV.
Miss Trudy, thank you so much for your talents that you share to the world. Thank you so much. So, what is REACHology and how is defined as a science?
REACHology is a word I've coined. It's in the trademark office right now. I'm waiting for an approval on that. But it was a word I coined to explain simply the connection between influence and having an audience reach. So there are a lot of experts that are big fish in small ponds. They are well known at their school, at their church, at their organization, but not well known outside of that. And then there are influencers that have a lot of attention but no expertise. So for me, Reachology was the way for expert voices to build and expand their influential reach beyond their peer group to their city, state, the nation, and even the world.
So, how does REACHology differ from traditional studies of communication and influence?
Well, the concept of Reachology is built on 5 important pillars, and those pillars are credentials, experience, publications, digital footprint, and following. So it encompasses these 5 pillars, which studies have shown. I'm also a doctoral candidate and I am pursuing research in the space of influential reach. And so, having done this academic research and worked with many, many experts over the course of my television show, I've realized that a lot of them came to my show, yes, to be on TV, but ultimately to achieve a wider audience reach. So I realized I was not just in the business of TV, but I was really in the business of influential reach. And out of that, working with those clients, seeing the need out in the community, I had to write this book based on what I saw as a gap in the system.
So, what are the key principles that govern influential reach?
So they're coming out again out of those 5 pillars. So, for example, someone may have a whole lot of credentials. Like, for example, I'm about to get my doctorate. But credentials are great and they are absolutely valued. So if you don't want to have your brain worked on by someone who's not a brain surgeon, for example. So credentials do matter in the space of influence and audience reach. It does matter. However, when it comes to experience, so someone may be a fitness instructor because they've got a lot of credentials, but they just got the credentials yesterday. And then you have someone who has lost 100 pounds. They have no credentials, but I promise you, Daniel, they will have a lot of influence in that domain simply because of their accomplishment, whether they have the credentials or not. But if you have both the credentials and the experience, you have now stacked your level of expertise and ability to have greater influence. When you pair that now with publications, whether it is a book you've written or things that have been written about you in newspapers, magazines, or on shows like yours, when there are publications that add to, maybe that's all there is, but if it's stacking on top of credentials and experience, then you're just really sweetening the deal, because now you have third party objective voices giving some trust over to that person. Then when you have the digital footprint, so everybody starts their search online. Like I like to say to my clients, if my ideal audience is literally 2 physical doors down from me, I won't know they're there. They won't know I'm here. And like if they just moved into the neighborhood, they're going to their phone and they're going to do a search. And if I'm not findable in that search, then I'm missing out and they're missing out. They need the help. I need the business. And the digital footprint is going to enhance my visibility, because the more people I serve, I forget it, John Maxwell, who said, if no one's following you, you're just taking a walk. The more people you serve is going to suggest the bigger growth of influence that you have, which gets to the next point, which is the following. So if you are, you may be an expert, but I've had many guests that have really no following, and you're just taking a walk. Until you have someone following you, you're not really a true leader. You can call yourself that, but you're only a leader when someone's following you. So how many people are following you? Do you have a small impact or a large impact? And that's going to be based on the size of the following that's going behind you. So
Very well said, Miss Trudy. Very well said. Just like being a best-selling author and award-winning author. So, how does psychology intersect with the REACHology to enhance influence?
Psychology definitely does intersect. In fact, when I started my doctorate program, I started it in psychology and then I switched to strategic leadership. But marketing, good marketing, is going to be pinned to human behavior. And human behavior is studied through psychology. So when we understand how people behave and how they think, how they think is going to influence how they behave, then that is going to feed into, if it's done well, how we build our influence and our audience reach.
Definitely. So, what role does emotional intelligence play in expanding one's reach?
Emotional intelligence is huge, and I support all of those tools that help a person measure their emotional intelligence. I believe it is a good thing to measure it, because a lot of people just assume, oh, yes, I am emotionally intelligent, I am mature, I am, empathetic, and all of those wonderful things. It's good to just assume that about yourself. But when you use these tools that will give you an actual measurement and a score and show you your gaps. So, for example, I've done many of those, and it was an interesting find because I've had to change my approach to business because of the findings from emotional intelligence scores. Being transparent, I would rather just stay in my house and just be with my family and not have to deal with the world. However, that's not what's going to grow a business. That's not what's going to expand my influence or my audience reach. And when I looked at my scores, it showed me where I was lacking. And I really was not one that was very willing to compromise. It was like my way or the highway. But I was kind of blind to that till I did those emotional tests and realized that I was lacking in that area. And then I came to that awareness. And from the awareness, I began to realize, oh, that is how I'm affecting people. I am not very, very empathetic, very caring. And so I had to shift, and I've become more caring. And I think that that is important, because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And emotional intelligence is going to enhance your ability to care and your ability to love people. And so I really have built my business around loving people. And when I love the people and I do the work from the position of I just love the people, the work shows the love. I believe I connect with people at that emotional level, and I think people do buy from an emotional place. So emotional intelligence is very, very important. And I strongly encourage anyone who considers them a leader, an entrepreneur, to go and get a score. Don't assume you've got it all together. Because we cannot self-assess very well. And so these objective tools will help us to get a more objective stance as to where we are on that spectrum, and then maybe we can see where we need to take some corrective action.
Definitely. According to listen notes, my listen score is 27 and belong to 10% popular show globally. I want more. I want belong to 1% popular show. So I'm doing all this stuff. So how does cultural context affect the strategy used in Reachology?
It absolutely does. And this is, I felt like I'm originally from Jamaica, and I'm
Yes.
now living in the United States. And a lot of Americans don't really travel outside of the United States. And when someone has an international experience, you begin to see something. So, for example, when I was in college and I had a lot of Muslim and Arabic friends, I've been able to get business in that community simply because I understand that I'm going to dress a certain way so I don't offend. I'm going to, not try to engage with their men, just different things. And it comes out of the culture, things we take for granted. How people, like how Jamaicans speak naturally. So I'm speaking English right now, but our dialect is not like this. And so I have seen where people might assume someone's not that intelligent simply because their English sounds broken, and that's not true, and that's a false thought process, and it comes out of being culturally ignorant.
I think you speak Creole, if I'm not mistaken,
They
in
call it
Jamaica.
patois in
Oh,
Jamaica. Creole is
patois.
like in Haiti, and yeah.
Oh, okay. What are the primary tools and mediums studied in Reachology for influence?
So when I meet with a client, I do an initial intake assessment to see where they are. I actually have a proprietary tool that I created, and when they respond to the questions, it will show me their gap. Everybody's different. So if they have not yet written a book, I may encourage them to write a book. And I believe a book is a huge expertise piece. I
Yes.
believe if you want to establish expertise in a domain, you should write a book on it. It doesn't matter if it's a bestseller, even if you have zero sales. The fact that you've written a book will be enough to say you are an expert on that. And if somebody even doesn't agree and they want to challenge you, they're going to have to quote you. So as far as I'm concerned, writing a book is a very important piece. So for some of my guests or my clients, they need to write a book. And we have AI tools now that make that absolutely very easy. In that same vein, I've also created a proprietary audience finder AI tool. So when I get my guests, my clients in, if they are looking for, if they're not targeting the ideal audience for their offer, my AI tool will spit out, based on what they type in as their offer, it will spit out 3 avatars and a pitch for those avatars. I have also an audience, a hook creator AI tool. So if you're going to make a video, if you're going to write a book, or if you're going to make a speech, you need to come up with some verbal or visual hooks. I've got tools for that as well. I've got a lot of tools, many of which I've created, proprietary tools that I've created to work with the people that I work with so as to establish their expertise in their domain and to expand their audience and influential reach.
So, how do demographics impact the effectiveness of influential reach?
Well, demographics in my world is going to speak more to the audience that you're looking for. So, for example, with television, it is a stronger 35 plus audience base. That doesn't mean children aren't watching TV, but when you know your audience base through demographics, and demographics takes time, because if you put up a website, the website's going to take time to get analytics. When you create, a Facebook presence or a YouTube presence, it takes time for you to get real analytics. Interestingly, which I find really surprising, the analytics tells me that my demographic is mostly male, 67% male. And being a female, I find that very interesting. So when I know my demographics, it does help because I will use a lot more male pictures in my advertising and my promotion pieces simply because I am a data geek and I love to see what the data is telling me.
Likewise, so how can businesses use Reachology to enhance their marketing strategies?
Well, they can't use it unless they're my client. So it's proprietary. But if they become a client, reachology is just a term I use to explain a concept. It's because influential reach sounds something abstract, but I wanted to make it more of a metric, more of a science. And so when they come into my ecosystem and they use the tools and everything, and we see the gaps and we speak to the gaps, then they will be building their influential reach. And reachology is just the word, just so I have a single word rather than influential reach and all the words that go with that.
So, what are the ethical considerations when applying Reachology principles?
Interesting question, Daniel. Ethical considerations are there because when someone is influential, they can be quite powerful. Now, we just had elections in the United States, and both parties used endorsements. I mean, the powerhouse of celebrities that came out behind the Democratic Party. And then we had on the right side, we had Elon Musk and I don't remember who else. But the point is, they were tapping into the influential reach of those that were endorsing them. So when you have endorsements, it can be quite powerful because it can sway people. So and that's a lot of the reason why a lot of people are moving to influencer marketing, because influencers have attention and very often they can sway their audience to feel a certain way, believe a certain thing, or buy something. So if you have someone with terrible ethics, or they have poor intentions, bad intentions, that influence and that audience reach can be potentially damaging.
For sure. How can individuals leverage Reachology to improve their personal brand?
They can leverage influential reach to improve their personal brand, because again, reachology is a trademark experience right now, so they can't really reuse the word reachology, but they can leverage their influential reach in a similar way to how the celebrities did for the elections or influencers do for marketing. So influencers are making quite a bit of money these days. A lot of media is moving away from traditional ads and paying influencers simply because they have both influence and audience reach. Now, they may not have expertise, but that's where that marriage is coming in, because the people who are experts don't have the audience. The people who are influencers very often don't have expertise. And so that's a great collaboration that allows for someone to leverage influential reach, if not their own, then the influential reach of an influencer. And it's interesting, these days, the nano influencers are gaining strength because the mega influencers with millions of followers have lost touch with their audience. So you don't have to be a Kim Kardashian anymore to earn money from building your brand to the point where you have influence and audience reach.
So, Ms. Trudy, can you explain us what the different types of influencer?
So I didn't know you were going to ask me that question. I do have the numbers for it, but I don't have it immediately handy. But the nano influencer has under 10,000 followers. And then you have, they have a micro influencer, which I believe is a 10,000 to the 100,000. And then they have the mega influencer. There's a gap in between. There's another one. The mega influencer has over 1 million. I don't remember the middle one and the numbers, but there's the name for the 100,000 to the million. So right now I would be a micro influencer because my reach is at almost at 100,000. in my reach, and probably I'll expect to be over that very soon. And I've been very deliberate about building that audience reach, Daniel, because initially, and that's only in the last 2 years, because being in the TV media business, I really did not. I had a social media presence, but I was in TV. That was my primary platform. It's very difficult to build on multiple platforms simultaneously. So a lot of influencers, for example, would be an influencer on IG, but not on TikTok, or they're on TikTok, but not on IG. So I was, my platform of preference was television. So I had a presence, but I wasn't really trying to build that reach. The thing is that people can't see television metrics. They're there, but they can't see it. And so when I realized that my guests weren't just coming for a TV experience, they were really hoping to tap into this wider audience. In other words, they were using TV as an authoritative platform to reach a brand new audience. I realized I was in the business of influential reach. And in that being said, I realized that because I was also repurposing their content for other, I put on my Facebook, I put on my Instagram, whatever, but I needed to build a reach there as well. So I was very intentional, and a lot of people are waiting on organic. Forget that. I will spend money and run ads and do what I need to do. And that's what I teach as well, because if you wait, and the thing about it is organic gets a bump when you do the paid ads, because when I look at my analytics, having run paid ads, because you can see the chart, the graph, where the source is coming from, and my organic is bumping up because I'm getting a wider and wider reach. In fact, up to yesterday, I was at over 11,100 and something on YouTube. So, it comes.
Yes. So, Mr. D, what is your advice for those aspiring influencers there that they want to embark to this industry?
So there are two things. So remember, I'm doing this doctorate, and there are two sides to the coin. So you have the influencer who has no expertise. You have the expert who has no influence. So think of the single coin, but you flip both sides. What is happening now, and which is the space that I am really promoting, is for the expert to build their influence. Because the influencers, they don't really have expertise. They're making money from selling their attention. Yes, but what they're also finding, because now there's a shift happening, because as the algorithms change on these platforms, a lot of influencers have realized they cannot bank on just ad revenue on these platforms. So a lot of them are becoming entrepreneurs. They're selling merch, right? They're selling courses. So they are, by virtue of that, becoming an expert of sorts, because they're now creating merchandise. They're creating something more substantial to their influence. But my space is to give the expert voices. And Daniel, this became very obvious during COVID. So what happened in COVID was, with all the lockdowns, everybody having to go to the internet, so many experts, the doctors and the teachers, were scrambling to get online. They were not there. And all of a sudden they had to have a presence so that they could continue to reach the people that they were reaching, that were coming into their physical space. And a lot of them realized that they needed to do this. And so during COVID, it became blatantly obvious that the voices of experts were not online. Here's another research data piece, because I love data. It was showing, the Small Business Association in the United States shows that the average business owner, the age of the average business owner, is 35 years and older, skewing heavily to 55 years and older. But the content creators, according to Statista, that database says that the content creator age group is 18 to 34, which means the content creators are not business owners, and the business owners are not content creators, which explains the two-sided coin I was talking about before. The experts are asking the influencers to get the word out, but the influencers are quickly realizing that not only are they becoming more dependent on the business owners to become their sponsors and so forth, but they are quickly becoming entrepreneurs themselves. So this area is going to be very blurred, I think, very soon, because Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, these guys, Mark Zuckerberg, are faces, CEOs who are very much influencers. In fact, their personal brand exceeds the brands of their organizations. And because their personal brand is so strong, it lends more power to their organization. So for my space, I am working with entrepreneur CEOs and helping them enhance their influential reach, because when they do that, what is happening now is the young people who come along, the young 34-year-old who just got their real estate license 2 weeks old, right? But they've been creating all this content, there's so much content that Google can find with that person's name, that the moment they say, oh, I got my real estate license, Google is giving all of this business to this person because they are findable. But the expert who has years of credentials and experience and all of this results, they're not digitally present, they're not digitally savvy, they're not findable. And so you see these 20-something-year-olds having 6- and 7-figure businesses, and the experts are going, what? Because Google and Bing and Safari is offering up these young whippersnappers who have great digital presence, very little expertise, but they've got a lot of digital savvy. And so the experts definitely need the help. The 45 plus group definitely needs the help.
Definitely, for sure. So, Miss Trudy, what is your short-term and long-term goals in your expertise?
So short term, I hope to complete this doctorate early 2025. Long term, I'm 58 years old. So, I eventually expect I will probably just do a lot more speaking, and I'm building up PSI TV. Maybe one day I will sell it as a going concern. I have grandkids and I would like to spend time with them. And so we'll see. But right now I'm focusing on the next 5 years. I think I'll still be hustling and grinding for the next 5 years.
Okay, so to sum up our discussion, Miss Trudy, how are the future or what are the future trends in the study and application of REACHology?
So the future trend, I believe, is going to be a continued growth in experts wanting to build their personal brand. There's a lot of talk now. It's trending. Personal brand building is trending. And I think there is a growing increase of the 45-year-olds creating content, especially with the help of AI. They have to get with the program. But AI, it might be a little bit scary, but once they get into it, they realize it's a shortcut to a lot of the things that we used to do
Before.
that took so much time. So I believe that will continue, and I think it will be a good thing.
Definitely. Miss Trudy Berman, thank you so much for sharing REACHology to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support all your projects?
So, Trudy Berman here. I am super simple to find, and I really do look forward to connecting and working with you. You can find me at psitvnetwork.com.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Trudy Berman, because if you support her, more TV shows to come, more episodes to come, more books or empowering books to come. So, Miss Trudy Berman, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.